July 25, 1965. A warm summer evening in Newport, Rhode Island. The crowd gathered for the final night of the Newport Folk Festival. A haven for acoustic guitars, protest songs, and musical purity. And then came Bob Dylan. But this time, something felt different. Instead of his signature acoustic guitar and harmonica, Dylan stepped onto the stage with a Fender Stratocaster, an electric guitar. In just 3 songs and about 15 minutes, Bob Dylan would divide a generation, challenge a tradition, and electrify music history, literally. In the early 60s, Bob Dylan was the poster boy of the American folk revival. At just 21, he was hailed as the next Woody Guthrie. He sang of civil rights, nuclear fears, and Vietnam. His words weren't just lyrics. They were anthems. To his fans, Dylan wasn't just a musician, he was a movement. He embodied everything folk stood for: sincerity, simplicity, and the power of truth in a few raw chords. The Newport Folk Festival was sacred ground for this ethos, a place where music meant message. By 1965, things were changing. Dylan's music was evolving, more abstract, more surreal, more electric. He had just released Like a Rolling Stone, a 6-minute epic layered with organ riffs and sneering vocals. It wasn't folk, it was something new. At Newport, Dylan appeared with a full band, including blues guitarist Mike Bloomfield, and members of the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. When the band launched into Maggie's Farm, the volume soared, the distortion kicked in, and the crowd froze. Some booed, some cheered, some thought the sound was awful, others thought the revolution had arrived. Festival organizer Pete Seeger, a folk legend himself, reportedly said he wanted to cut the cables with an axe. He later claimed it was because of the poor sound mix. But symbolically, it felt like a war between generations. Was Dylan booed because he went electric? Or was it just the poor sound system and short set? No one fully agrees. But one thing is clear: Dylan didn't explain. He didn't apologize. He just kept moving. Critics called him arrogant. Fans were confused. But Dylan had broken the wall. Folk music was no longer a museum piece. It could now scream, distort, and evolve. After Newport, Dylan released Highway 61, Revisited, and Blonde on Blonde, defining albums that blended folk lyricism with electric rock energy. He toured with the Hawks, later known as the Band, often being booed night after night. But he didn't stop. He was building something new. Looking back, that night at Newport wasn't a betrayal. It was the birth of folk rock, the fusion of poetry and power. And music would never be the same again. Music doesn't stand still. It moves, shifts, mutates. On July 25, 1965, Bob Dylan plugged in. And in doing so, he rewired the soul of American music. Because sometimes, change doesn't come quietly. Sometimes, it roars.